Several former staffers at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have come out and pointed some fingers at members of the Trump administration, the individuals responsible for helping to suppress and alter the data coming out of the CDC during this pandemic. And specifically, they would do this whenever the data contradicted what Donald Trump was telling the public or what the administration thought may hurt them politically because it was an election year. Two individuals stand out among the individuals named. One of them is Kellyanne Conway, who left the administration back in late August, and the other one is Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump. Now, according to these two former CDC officials, Ivanka's job was to go out there and kind of massage the data, saying that reopening schools was a bad idea. Which, as we all know, reopening schools for the most part was a bad idea. You have seen outbreaks so bad in certain areas of the state where they have, states, I guess, they've had to re-shut down the schools and immediately have to go back to an online learning apparatus. Now, some areas did it better. You know, they offered you can either choose brick and mortar, you can choose online learning. You know, some were said, no, some had said, excuse me, good grief. Some had said, look, the president says school's safe, everybody has to go back to a physical building. Those are the ones that saw the most problems. And Ivanka Trump was in charge of telling the CDC, no, you cannot say this. No, you shouldn't say that. No, this is the message the president's going with. Let's not release this publicly. Kellyanne Conway was, I think, more on the political side of it. You know, no, you can't tell them to shut down economies or that they can't go out and eat at restaurants because that's going to hurt things. It's going to make the job losses go up, and that's going to hurt Trump politically. I want to make something absolutely clear, and this story confirms it, because that is, you know, the underlying issue. Read beyond the headlines here. This story is really about an administration that did as much as they could not to protect the American public, but to protect Donald Trump. Every single decision they have made has been a calculated decision based on how it is going to benefit the President of the United States, Donald Trump. And that's one of the reasons the United States has had the worst pandemic response across the planet. Because other countries were actually trying to figure out how do we stop the virus. The United States was figuring out how do we stop the virus from harming Trump's re-election chances. That's what we focused on. Europe, they had their second bounce. They're back down again. Taiwan has a population the size of Florida. Didn't even see a fraction of the numbers that we have seen here in Florida. New Zealand, COVID-free. There were correct ways to do this. There were smart ways to do this. The United States didn't go with either of those because we didn't want to hurt Trump's re-election chances. And then, by God, the man still lost the election anyway. I don't care if he doesn't admit it. He still lost it. And we lost more than 300,000 American citizens along the way. That's a death toll that is on Trump's shoulders. That is a level of incompetence that we should never again see sitting in the White House. This entire administration has been an abject failure. And if you're one of those people who still loves Donald Trump, still thinks he's a good president, then guess what? I'm going to go ahead and say you're just as guilty for those 300,000 deaths as he is.